Namaskara. This is a humble effort to spread DVG's message beyond the boundaries of language. Any limitations of language, proficiency, and grammar should be excused. ಸ್ವಸ್ಥತೆಯ ಕದಲಿಸದ ಜಗದಾಸ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಗುಣ, ಅಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕುಂದಿಸದ ತಾಟಸ್ಥ್ಯ ಒಂದು, ನಷ್ಟ ಲಾಭಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯ ನಯ ಒಂದು, ಸ್ವಸ್ಥಿಗಾವಶ್ಯಕವೋ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. We all go through this kind of dilemma, whether to get fully involved in this life or remain fully detached, fully aloof from day to day life. When we are bored of this day to day corporate urban lifestyle, we always feel I should go to Himalaya and become a saint, or I should go to forest and remain detached from all the day to day activities of life. That is one perspective, but that view or tendency has stemmed out from our incapability to manage day to day life. As the Bhagavad Gita's message of Krishna goes, when Arjuna is telling, or rather giving an impractical lecture to Krishna about how becoming a saint is better than fighting in the war, all Krishna is telling is, if you want to become a sannyasi, a saint, or monk, I don't have any issue. But the desperate cry for detachment is coming from your fear of losing, fear of defeat, or excessive emotional quotient for your relatives and cousins. So there is nothing wrong with remaining attached from life, but if it is stemming out from the desperation, that is not right, because we are going to remain detached, rejecting the day-to-day life, which a no yogi can approve, no Krishna can approve. Krishna is Yogeshwara, as Bhagavad Gita tells. He is the supreme among yogis. Krishna never left the war field. Indeed, he made Arjuna and other people fight in the war with utmost valor. Similarly, we have to have complete approval of the life and get involved in the day-to-day life. But inside, we have to remain aloof. That is what is the message of DVG's Kagga here. ಸ್ವಸ್ಥತೆಯ ಕದಲಿಸದ ಜಗದಾಸ್ಥೆ ಒಂದು ಗುಣ. ಸ್ವಸ್ಥತೆ means swastha means well-being. In this context, mental well-being. Kadalisada, obstructed or an impediment. Jagadasthe means an objective perspective towards the life, an overview, a bird's eye view towards the life. So the first line talks about swasthateya kadalisada jagadasthe ಒಂದು ಗುಣ. Among 3 simple tips for a happy life, the first tip is you should have a bird's eye view of the life. You should have an objective view of the life so that your mental well-being doesn't get affected. That should be the first crucial tip for a happy life. How can we do that? When we are stuck in busy traffic, when we are so ingrained in our ego, when we are sinking in our ego, the traffic becomes a real impediment, a real problem to be solved. But when we realize the fact that I'm an insignificant speck in this urban traffic and all that is happening is just for this insignificant I called ego, and everyone in this society or city have traffic, or one or other problem will be there even for a person who is flying in an aeroplane or a helicopter. When you have that level of expansive consciousness, expansive view of the life, our day-to-day suffering becomes nullified or reduced. So the first tip is have a higher perspective towards the life, have a greater outlook towards the life, and observe your insignificance amidst that beautiful existence so that your mental well-being will remain unaffected. Second tip is ಆಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕುಂದಿಸದ ತಾಟಸ್ಥ್ಯ ಒಂದು. ಆಸ್ಥೆ, an interested nature in day-to-day life. Kundisada, reduced. Tatastya, neutral involvement. One. The second tip DVG is giving here is don't remain aloof from the day-to-day activities of the world. Many people have stopped knowing day-to-day activities or news of the world because it is so disturbing. Yes, of course, in this war-torn world, day-to-day news is extremely disturbing. But if you remain aloof from it, if you remain completely unheard of it, you will miss a major lesson the world or existence or society is imbibing in you in every second, every moment. Tatastya, but when you are observing that, you should remain neutrally involved. So, to know or not to know day-to-day news, you should know a bare minimum day-to-day happening across the world, across your city, across your state and country. You don't need to know all intricate aspects of it, and you should not be spending 6 hours of day after you reach home from your work in front of a monotonous news channel. Rather, you should know everything happening around you in bare minimum degree. Actually, taking a cue from this second tip, I have started following a simple activity in my life. Many days I stopped reading newspapers or watching news, but I felt it is not making me complete, it is making me escape the life. But as we all have seen, the news channel makes our life much more miserable because they keep repeating and highlighting only tormenting aspects for us. So, what I decided is in night I listen to both Kannada and English news on All India Radio because Kannada news tells what is happening in my state and English news tells what is happening in the nation and also outside my nation. So that much information is fair enough to keep appraised of, I felt. So the second tip here is when we are having objective perspective as DVG mentioned in first line, we should not remain disinterested. We should know what is right or what is wrong. If we see an injustice in front of our house, we should stand up and raise our voice instead of telling I am remaining aloof, because in second line DVG is telling you should be interested, you should not remain aloof. But even in that, even in spite of it, you should have a neutral involvement. That means consider there is a bully, we call rowdy in Kannada, in front of your home making noise or creating ruckus. In due diligence, you might go to that person and tell, this is not right. But as we all have been aware, this person will retort using bad words. Yes, it happens because that's a personality of that person. It cannot be changed. But you should not feel bad. That is tatasya. That is neutral involvement, DVG is telling. Third tip is ನಷ್ಟ ಲಾಭಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯ ನಯವೊಂದು. ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯ, a playful, high-spirited, humorous perspective of life is also needed. When you follow first and second tip, naturally you will become too serious and engrossed in the life so that you cannot even escape the thought stream, the default mode network, what psychology speaks about, a negative thinking even when you go to bed. So that shouldn't be there. Krishna, even amidst Mahabharata war, was able to go to sleep without any dilemma because ನಷ್ಟಲಾಭಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯನಯ ಒಂದು. ನಷ್ಟಲಾಭ, profit and loss, that means good and bad, are aspects of day-to-day life. One day we'll catch metro which we wanted to catch, the second day we'll miss it. One day we'll have busy traffic, another day it will not be there. One day boss praises us for absolutely no reason. One day, even when we are doing good work, we get a mail telling you should improve. It happens. As we discussed in our previous Kagga video, things happen beyond our control. We cannot be entitled for everything. We cannot be a reason for everything that is happening in our life. But the moment you accept, these are just gradients of a same aspect. These are just two faces of a same coin. The Laguhasya perspective pops up in us, grows up in our mind. Laguhasya means a playful, high-spirited perspective towards the life and its diligence. Naya means the diligence, the delicate nature of the mind which sees both pain and happy moments in an equidistant way and remain unaffected by both. Tulya ninda stutir mauni santushto yena kenachit. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells. Ninda stuti. Ninda means blame, blemish. We get blamed for unnecessary reason many times. Stuti, some people praise us unnecessarily or to impress us. In both conditions, you have to remain mauni. Mauni means not just a mute of the mouth, not keeping our mouth shut. The mauna is the mauna of the mind. The silence of the mind, the equanimity of the mind should never get perturbed, never get affected. That's exactly what DVG is telling in the third tip. ನಷ್ಟಲಾಭಂಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯ ನಯವೊಂದು, a humoristic perspective about gains and losses of the day-to-day life. If you can follow these three tips, ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿಗಾವಶ್ಯಕವೋ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. Swasti here means good life. These three tips are very much needed for a good life, Mankutimma. So let us aim or let us commit to follow these 3 tips in our life. First thing is, have an objective perspective. Remain distant from urban stress or urban anxiety, but that shouldn't make you remain disinterested and uninvolved. So the second tips goes, you should get involved but with a neutral point of view. And things can be bad when you are doing something good for the society. People will criticize, but you should have the neutrality to be open for criticism. Third tip is ನಷ್ಟ ಲಾಭಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯ ನಯವೊಂದು, an humoristic perspective, a playful high-spirited mindset towards gains and profits of day-to-day life, goods and bads, evils and niceties of day-to-day life. That is also very much needed. If you follow these 3 steps, your life is going to be happy no matter what happens. DVG condenses gist of maybe 300 or 400 self-help books which gets released and disappear without away on Amazon bestseller list. So let us commit to follow these 3 steps in our day-to-day life. Let us revisit this Kagga again. ಸ್ವಸ್ಥತೆಯ ಕದಲಿಸದ ಜಗದಾಸ್ಥ್ಯ ಒಂದು ಗುಣ, ಆಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕುಂದಿಸದ ತಾಟಸ್ಥ್ಯ ಒಂದು, ನಷ್ಟ ಲಾಭಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಘುಹಾಸ್ಯನಯ ಒಂದು, ಸ್ವಸ್ಥಿಗ ಅವಶ್ಯಕವು ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. This was 723rd Kagga of Mankutimmana Kagga.